ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula has criticised the upcoming launch of a new movement formed by former Chief Rand Chair and businessman Roger Jardine. Jardine is launching his new movement at the Riverlea Empowerment Centre in Johannesburg today. The new movement is set to contest the upcoming 2024 general elections. So speaking at the Wedela Community Hall in the West Rand earlier today, Mbalula described Jardine as nothing but a funded project that has been launched to defeat the ANC in the upcoming 2024 elections. ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula is in Wedela sub-region, where he's expected to address a number of issues and also welcome former EFF members who are joining the ANC. Our reporter Samkela Maseko now joins us live. A very good afternoon to you, Samkela. At this point, perhaps you could wrap things up on your end. Also, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula yesterday saying the recent formation of smaller political parties, especially those who have benefited from the policies of the ANC, are aimed at destroying the ruling party. Really walk us through what's emerged from today's meeting as well.
In essence, the ANC Secretary General is saying that the former party leaders and those who've benefited through BEE are now turning against the party. As you can see today, that struggle stalwart and businessman Mafimurobe is there in the launch of Roger Jardine's party. But we are now going to speak to the ANC spokesperson, the ANC Secretary General, led by the spokesperson Mahlengu Pengu Mutsir.
Thank you very much, members of the media, and thank you to all the broadcasters who are here for joining the ANC on this occasion. The Secretary General of the ANC, accompanied by the Provincial Secretary of our Gauteng province, and together with the Regional Secretary and the entire leadership of the West Rand region, are here today to welcome members that are rejoining the African National Congress, coming out of or coming from the economic freedom fighters. But of course, in addition to that, the SG also came to deliver a message of inspiration to our structures on the ground as we form part of wrapping up the manifesto review. And I'm going to invite you to ask the SG to say a word or two, and then we will then field questions.
Thank you very much to members of the media. We are here in West Rand today to do two things. We've got an upcoming by-elections, which we are contesting in Mirafong. We've been campaigning down there in Mirafong. And two, we also have a significant number of members of EFF, which include led by members who were councillors of the EFF, who were actually dismissed from their party for all the reasons that were made public. And they had a choice to go anywhere else, but they decided to come back home. And we welcome them here with 50 or so plus members who came under their auspices. So we are very much on track in relation to our work, and that shows the confidence that people have in the African National Congress. But the second part is that we are aware that there is a new initiative and a project that has been initiated through a political party that was unveiled, I think, today, which is led by Roger Jardine. What we have said is that these are beneficiaries of black economic empowerment policies of the ANC, who are today in the deep pockets of capital and are turning on the revolution. And the revolution will be defended by the masses. And those beneficiaries, we have seen them in different phases, decampaigning the movement. We now know that this is a well-organized and funded campaign by big capital in our country to depose the ANC in the upcoming election. They are hard at work recruiting some of the ANC veterans, and they are funding them, some who are beneficiaries of the Black Economic Empowerment, and they are also part of this project. Because for any project to have credibility in the face of our people, it must have, according to them, struggle credentials. People who have fought and have got some semblance of credibility. So we know that, and we are very clear about it. But our people are not losing faith in the African National Congress. And as you will have seen with the by-elections that are taking place, people have got faith in the ANC. We are strengthened by the presence of these comrades. And there are many others in the EFF. Some have left, whom will be unveiling, joining the ANC pack. And we are telling them that we welcome you with open hands. You will not be judged here in the ANC. And then we appreciate the fact that on their own, voluntarily, they chose to come back home, and they've got their reasons why they do so. So we can't speak on their behalf in that regard. But this is just but the beginning of a big journey of people coming back to their organization. And we are saying to them, welcome back to the African National Congress.
Thank you very much, SG. I am going to take questions from members of the media. Also, just to indicate that some of these comrades that have come back home are also here. So you are welcome to also ask questions from them. Can I start, SABC?
Mr. Mbalula, two questions. Mr. Mefimorobe, has Mr. Mefimorobe served his divorce papers with the African National Congress? I see he's speaking at Roger Jardine's political formation launch. Secondly, on Eskom, Dan Morakani, how abreast were you as the African National Congress in his appointment as the new group chief executive officer of Eskom? And lastly, his working relationship soured and he had a fallout and was booted out of Eskom due to the Gupta fallout, especially with those who were at the helm at the time. Are you sure and confident that he can turn around the situation and make sure that the lights are on?
Dan Marokana is a very well-traveled executive, and he worked at Eskom for the longest of time. And why we are confident about him, and we want to express our support for him to do his job, is the fact that he's got experience and he knows Eskom. And that's what is important for us. Either than just taking a nobody, like we have seen, who knows nothing about the workings inside Eskom, who knows nothing about electricity supply. Marukana worked there for the longest of time. So we believe that his experience will come in handy for that utility. And he needs also a support of a solid board. So this is a decision of the board. It's not a decision of the ANC. It's a decision of the board which the ANC as a party we support. We want stability at Eskom, and we think the board finally has done what it is right. And we support the minister as well, Comrade Pravin Gordhan, who led and working with the board the finality of this matter, because it is cabinet finally that employs CEOs of companies. So they've done the right thing. We are on course with Sputla, working with them to ensure that load shedding is something of the past, and we want to urge them to do whatever that is in their power to defeat load shedding in South Africa. As the ANC, we wanted at least by December to have won this particular fight against load shedding. We're encouraged by interventions made by Eskom, working with Gauteng government and other provinces to deal with the scourge of vandalism of infrastructure that include transformers and is nyoga undermining the work of Eskom. So as these transformers are coming back, society must also partake. And we are calling on government to exert its authority, including deploying the army on the ground, boots on the ground, to assist with security matters and clean out our townships and our areas of the illegal zamazamas, and at the same time to safeguard society. We know about Mefimorobe. He has not given us any papers, or this is not new to the ANC. People came and formed COPE, and then on the back of Thabo Mbeki's withdrawn by the ANC. They responded by forming COPE. Today, we know Roger Jardine is a project. And it is a project because they say that Esthazen is a white man. So this moonshot pack, in terms of leadership going forward, will not need a white man. It will need something close to whiteness, like Roger Jardine. And also this moonshot pack, it needs some semblance of a person who's got struggle credentials. Roger Jardine, his family played a big part in the liberation struggle, not him. Yena is a beneficiary of a BEE. And then he was made by Capital, and Capital have chosen him. So he's a puppet of Capital. We know now that a number of ANC veterans like Mefi Murobe and many others have been approached one by one, and then they have been given money. They are on the payroll. Capital has resolved in this country to amass close to R1 billion to work to overthrow the ANC government, because they don't get their way through with some of the things they thought it will be easy for them to happen. Now you must understand, ANC, in terms of our strategy and tactics and our relationship with Capital, is unity and struggle of the opposite. There are things that we agree on, there are things that we don't agree on. And to them, the ANC must be in their pocket and basically sing their language. And we are not going to do that. We are not going to abandon affirmative action. We are going to intensify broad-based black economic empowerment. We are going to ensure that the living wage is actually addressed. So we know those are some of the things that they actually don't like. They want us to privatize state assets. We have resisted that over time because we have said that these assets must be capitalized, but they cannot entirely be out of the hands of the state, but they must be capitalized. That is why we talk restructuring in order to make them viable entities to serve our people and fund the reconstruction and development of our government. So Capital has not found its way through with some of the things that they have wanted the ANC to do. So they've now put up individuals a big budget to support the fall of the ANC. But we know our defense is the masses of our people, and that is what is important.
Thank you very much. I want to take on the next media house. Please introduce yourself.
Tabiso Goba from Eyewitness News. I just have a question for the SG and for the lady. Just for the SG, a lot of Sunday papers reporting that President Cyril Ramaphosa and even Mr. Jacob Zuma have volunteered or offered themselves to mediate between the issue Ezulwini and the ANC. Just your thoughts on that. Is that true, and how far is that mediation process? And for the lady who's a former EFF member, I just want to know what was your position in the EFF and why did you leave the EFF? Thank you.
You can start.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sarah Khan. I was the former EFF chief whip in Western Morafong and a PR council. I had no choice to leave my job. I was told either to resign. I was actually bullied into, you either resign or you go. So even with me knowing that I'm fired, I only found out when my salary didn't go through. Then the municipality said, unfortunately, you are no longer even an EFF member.
Thank you very much. With regard to the question of Ezulwini, our position still stands. We have appealed, and our position is very clear that we are dealing with a fraudulent matter which we have contested in the courts. But nonetheless, there are many means at our disposal to handle this particular issue. Legal path is one of them, and also the out-of-court settlement in terms of this matter is equally one option that the ANC is exploring. There is nobody who has come to the Secretary General of the ANC and basically said they offered themselves to mediate. What the president did was to interact with the legal firm that is handling the matter, which that meeting did take place already. And the issue is handled by the Secretary General. And I've got the responsibility, working with the collective, to defend the ANC. And we have issued a statement and clarified the matter that the ANC will not be liquidated. We'll do everything to avoid that. But we have lost this case, and we are fighting from a weaker position. And we have explained that this is a fraudulent matter. We never had a contract with this company. But these are people who are milking the ANC money out of a fraudulent deal that they had with some of junior staff of the ANC in the election house, as well as at Luthuli House. So we have learned our lessons out of this, and we have a healthy relationship with the people we owe, our creditors. And in this regard, where we are failing to pay, we get into terms with them. We would have done that with Ezulwini. We couldn't do that simply because this was a matter of fraud in our books. It will remain like that, whether they like it or not. It will stay like that because we know that is the truth. But what do you do when fraudsters win cases in a court of law? You've got to deal with the legality of that and also safeguard the interest of the party so that the ANC is not liquidated, and that is what is important. The president, as the head of the party, has been leading from the front, and we gave the report to the officials, and we've been dealing with this matter for quite some time. And we also gave a report to the NWC. But shameless, faceless sources come out of these meetings of the ANC and give wrong report. But we are going to find them in no time. People who undermine the coherence and the unity of our organization.
Thank you very much, SG. I'm going to take yourself, my brother. Please introduce yourself.
It's Mawandi from the Sunday Times. SG, as it relates to Dan Marugane as a follow-up, I mean, there's been allegations of interference by Minister Pravin Gordhan in all these SOEs. How is the ANC going to make sure that it does not interfere with Mr. Dan Marugane in doing his job and bringing an end into load shedding at Eskom? And then second, you spoke on the stage about 1 billion that has been set aside as part of this Roger Jardine project. Do you have proof of that 1 billion that you were talking about? Thank you very much.
Intelligence work can be proof. We have information. We know what is happening in this country, and we know that Roger Jardine's political party is not a party, it's a project. It's a project of counter-revolution in our country, and it's been unveiled and then covered with a sheepskin. But at the end of the day, a wolf is a wolf. That's what it must be. And you will see what they are going to do. They get support from capital here and abroad to destabilize the ANC and then to get ANC out of power or to hold ANC to terms post-elections and to push the ANC below 50%. So that is a festival of comedians coming together with the sole and aim of destroying the ANC and defeating the ANC, the revolution, and the African Revolution. What was the second? We don't want. We want the ministers to support the board, to work with the CEO. That's what we want, and we don't want the ministers who override and do all sorts of things. But we want ministers who are hands-on to get us out of this load shedding. So we are confident that the board will execute its mandate within the prescripts of the law and good governance.
Mr. Mbalula, just the last one from the SABC. Mbavuso Msimang, he met with Snooki Zikalala, Dr. Snooki Zikalala, president of the Veterans League, negotiating for him to rescind his resignation from the party. Has Mr. Snooki Zikalala given you feedback from that all-night meeting that took place on Saturday?
Well, I've also read it in the papers, but he's got to do what he has to do because that was his deputy. His deputy, with all the experience he's got in the ANC, he has served as a resignation through the press. I've not received that letter at Luthuli House. And then I've also not expecting to receive a letter of resignation at Luthuli House. Luthuli House is not a branch, it's an office. You resign in your branch. So TK still has to give me a report from the branch of Comrade Mavuso as to whether did he serve his resignation to the branch. But nonetheless, we are steadfast. We are not deterred. Many of these shenanigans are going to unfold, and there's political parties that have been formed. Some of them bear the name of the ANC, and we are fighting that in court, including our trademark Umkhonto Wesizwe. It is alleged again that former leaders or leaders of the ANC are involved with the formation of this party for a sole and reason of getting rid of Ramaphosa, because they say that Ramaphosa must go and all of that for the same cause about the issue of Phala. We have addressed them about these issues. All what we are saying to former leaders of the ANC, give Ramaphosa a space to lead. You were leaders before. You know the unwritten law of the ANC conventions. You don't criticize the person of which yourself you have been a leader before. We take the weaknesses of Nelson Mandela as the former president and his strength into the administration of Mbeki. We do the same with Jacob Zuma. And with Ramaphosa now, we'll continue to do the same. It's a relay. And that is why when Mandela came to the ANC and raised issues about HIV and AIDS, the NEC then addressed Mandela and said, give Comrade Thabo a chance to lead. It didn't mean that Mandela did not have a valid criticism and suggestion. He did not even criticize, he was making suggestion. He said, we hear what you say, but give people antiretrovirals. People, including my family, are dying of HIV and AIDS. So give them antiretrovirals. We have given people antiretrovirals in South Africa. Life expectancy has increased. So all we are asking is a matter of principle. Give this comrade the same respect that we accorded you. Every day, ANC leaders are overshadowing the president of the ANC because Ramaphosa is a nice person. He wouldn't go into the mud and do all of these particular things. But we are pleading with them that give him a chance. It's his time now. He had to contend with a number of things. At the helm of the leadership of the ANC, he had to deal with COVID-19 at the time of his presidency. He had to deal with July riots at the time of his presidency. He had to deal with state capture and corruption. Ramaphosa is hated even within our ranks by people who think that he is steadfast in the fight against corruption. He had to deal with all of those things in his presidency. He had to deal with state capture that has ravaged, undermined even law enforcement agencies. Through our resolutions and our renewal path, he needs all the support to lead the ANC decisively going forward. So we are not at war with everybody, but there are people who call themselves veterans of the ANC, who by day are leaders. They've got track record. By night they sit with counter-revolution on the table and plot the downfall of the revolution.
Are you referring to former President Mbeki and former President Zuma in undermining Ramaphosa?
I'm referring to everybody. I'm referring to anybody. I don't want to mention names because I'm sick and tired of clarifying myself week in and week out. I'm referring to anyone who was a leader of the ANC. Give Matamela a chance to lead. It's his time now. Ramaphosa, his time will come to an end too. He must respect the leaders who are coming. That's all what we are saying. We are leadership. If they want to address the NEC about their criticisms, I can give them a platform there anytime. Some of them are ex officio. Anytime they are welcome in the NEC. But it is time wasting to sugarcoat things. When the ANC is suffering blows, not from external, but from internal, and serious blows. Mavuso Msimanga, before he left, and when we made a call that they must stop decampaigning the ANC, he said on Mandela's day that Mandela will not be brave, will not be happy of ANC government. That thing was not said by Malema or John S. Dazen. It was said by Mavuso Msimanga and used by our enemies to counter the ANC. Now, and then he says he's been raising issues with the ANC and all of that. Things are not changing. Things are changing. And we can only work together with them to get things to change, including their demand, some of them, that the president must have not been defended in parliament. We want that demand, that they put it on the table, because all things have unfolded now. Public protector, chastised, insulted, came up with a report on the Pala matter. Reserve Bank came out with a report on the Pala matter. Now, maybe when the president gets to be arrested for Pala, then there will be something else. We are not going to abandon the president and weaken the party. Ramaphosa is an asset to the African National Congress. Even those who want him gone is because they fear that Ramaphosa wins hegemony for the ANC. You cannot ask for somebody to leave South Africa's politics if he's weak as a president. You can only ask somebody who's stronger. So we are open like that to our leaders. We respect them, and we accept dissent, including their criticism. But they must also accept the fact that where we differ, we differ. We must be pursued as leadership to look in a different direction. We have never, for instance, asked for people to campaign for the ANC. We have asked them not to decampaign the ANC. That's what we have done as the leadership of the African National Congress. Thank you very much.
Suppose we're done, colleagues. I don't see any new hand. We had to stretch it because you were decent enough to await and stay through this activity. But thank you very much. We are adjourned.
That was essentially the Secretary General of the ANC speaking on and defending the President of the African National Congress, and also welcoming new members of the party. Interestingly, saying that ex-official members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, which would be former President Zuma and former President Mbeki, must go to the NEC and raise their arguments on the trajectory of the party in the National Executive Committee instead of speaking in public.